Just outside of Birmingham, Alabama, in a little town called Leeds, back in 2003, a motorcycle enthusiast named George Barber built what is quite possibly the finest racing facility in the United States. They call it the Augusta National of Motorsports. We call it Barber Motorsports Park, and this evening it will be home and play host to the third and fourth round, the RTI Prospect segment of the TireRack.com Road to Indy eSeries. Hello, folks. Welcome to Barber. My name is Rob Howden. I'll be joined in the booth today by Joshua Lee and later on by Greg DeGeorgis. Joshua, we have ourselves a fantastic day today here. Partly cloudy in the virtual world, 67 degrees trackside. This particular facility at 2.27 miles, one of the absolute best in North American motorsports.
You mentioned how beautiful of a facility it is, and Barber Motorsports Park really is beautiful, but you got to talk about that track map. You have slow corners, you have fast corners, you have elevation change, you have everything that can possibly be thrown at these drivers on this racetrack tonight. This is going to be an exciting one as we go into the third round of the campaign.
Yeah, noted that track designer Alan Wilson penned this particular layout. It is a very challenging racetrack, to be certain. For those of you coming in today, maybe your first time watching the TireRack.com Road to Indy eSeries here on Rev TV or on the Cooper Tire Facebook page or any of the Road to Indy TV channels. These are the RTI prospects. These are the young drivers trying to break into this Road to Indy presented by Cooper Tires. Top 10 from this event are going to be able to move forward and race on Monday, this coming Monday at Road America against our Road to Indy regulars. Joshua, that's the cool thing about this particular event here. We got a bunch of young guns who are trying to make a name for themselves, and they're trying to do it here in the virtual world.
And it's a great place to do it too. A lot of the pressure is off. They can take a little bit more risks because they don't have to worry about their team boss yelling at them about paying to fix the car at the end of the night.
That is one of the key things, a chance to learn a racetrack without having to worry about busting up a race car. Again, all these drivers trying to see if they can't get themselves into the Road to Indy. You know, Joshua, in the last race we had a couple of weeks ago, when we raced at Virginia International Raceway, we saw a couple kids really step up to the forefront, Alessandro DiTullio and Matt Clark. I expect them to be fast again this evening.
And you're already hitting the nail on the head there, Rob, because they are top two currently in practice. DiTullio at number 1, Matt Clark at number 2. It's going to be interesting to see how they're going to battle in both of the races tonight. Is it going to go the way of Alessandro DiTullio, or will Matt Clark, the Canadian, have anything to say about it?
Yeah, no doubt about that. This is a very, very technical racetrack. There are 15 corners in total, a lot of elevation changes. It's not an easy track to learn. It takes a little time, and really, it's about risk management. We've got Greg DeGeorgis from the Symmetric Driver Performance Lab, our official Road to Indy trackside simulator, to be with us here. Greg, what are your thoughts on the racetrack tonight? What are the keys to the race?
Yeah, hey Rob, it's glad to be back this week. And of course, I love presenting our keys to the race for one of my personal favorite tracks in the United States. We've got beautiful scenery, plenty of elevation change, and a lot of really interesting corner complexes that make for a really challenging circuit for drivers to both qualify and then race on. First and foremost, maintaining focus and precision is absolutely critical for everyone tonight, as this is a high intensity track. Fast drivers will use every inch of the racing surface, but they really need to be careful not to hit curbs or drop wheels in the grass, as either of those will rapidly redirect them towards a wall. It's best to find a rhythm and stick it with it early. These races are not the time to experiment with different racing lines. Now, Rob, you can go ahead and call me a nerd, but you know I embrace it. In the words of Gandalf, you shall not pass. Now, I know it's pretty dorky, but the point I'm alluding to the fact that as difficult as it is to just drive solo on this track, making passes here is quite a bit harder, with the line around this circuit mostly preventing any sort of sustained two-wide racing. Now, while I'm certainly not encouraging contact, the smart move for drivers tonight is to pressure drivers ahead into a mistake rather than trying to force a high-risk pass, potentially taking both cars out. The only two normal or semi-normal passing zones tonight are into turn 5, the hairpin, and turn 8's museum corner, but even those are low-percentage passing areas. Now, lastly, drivers need to not abuse their tires. Driving conservatively is the best for the tire over a racing distance, and coupled with the fact that the Indy Pro 2000 car here in iRacing does not reward overdriving anyways. Put simply, being too harsh on your tires will result in some sort of grip fall off towards the end of the race, especially on the rear tires. That's my keys to the race. Back to you guys.
Great stuff, Greg. Back trackside, the top 6 drivers from qualifying will be rolling out for the shootout runs right now. So let's head to IndyCar Ministry Chaplain Chuck Lesick for the invocation, followed by the national anthem.
Let's pray. Lord God, we just thank you for the opportunity to get together tonight around a little online racing, just wherever we might be in the world. The fact that we can just grow in relationship through this event here at Barber Motorsports Park. It's just so awesome. We just appreciate the time together. We thank you for giving it to us, Lord. Just be with those drivers tonight. Help them increase their skills. Have a good run tonight, Lord. But most of all, just let us all have fun as we enjoy this online race. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
So, we buy shoes online, and socks, and shoe socks, and baby food, dog food, parrot food, gardening tools, art supplies, college classes, scarf, the scarf tube, sleeping bag suit? Yeah. So why not buy tires online? TireRack.com is North America's largest online retailer of tires. Find, buy, then have them shipped to one of our trusted independent installers for safe, easy installation. TireRack.com, the way tire buying should be. Online, with all that other stuff.
Back live here at Barber Motorsports Park for rounds 3 and 4 of the RTI Prospects segment of this year's TireRack.com Road to Indy eSeries, presented by Cooper Tires. I'm Rob Howden, joined by Joshua Lee and Greg DeGeorgis in the booth. Just about a minute and a half remaining in our Fast 6 qualifying. 15 drivers in the field here today. After qualifying, the top 6 drivers able to move forward. Kind of a shuffle, Joshua, to see who's going to grab the pole position. Watching Frankie Mossman right now, hustling that number 77 around the Cape Motorsports Liberty machine. He's P3 currently on the order. Still, which you said, 90 seconds to go. An issue there for him. There's Dean Dibdahl, our WK World Karting Association representative, running that WK livery. He was able to make the Fast 6. We got some pretty good drivers, guys that have won before in this Fast 6 qualifying run today.
You can see already a couple of them showing their might at the top of the board. Alessandro Di Tullio just came across the line to complete another lap, and Frankie Mossman is going to finish that lap that he spun on, just getting up a little bit too far on these curbs. And the curbs here at Barber Motorsports Park, Rob, are unlike curbs really anywhere else. They're just more like concrete, really, than they are runoff curbs. You get up on them, the car's going to hike up, and these things love to run very, very close to the ground. Not a lot of suspension on these machines, so they're going to hike right up into the air and lead to what we saw with Frankie Mossman, just getting spun around as they went just a little bit too far up. And you can see the 21 getting away with it going in this downhill chicane area. That really seems to be the only place in the track you can get away with extensive usage of those curbs.
Yeah, you're right, Josh. There are particular parts of this racetrack where you can work it a little bit. One of the things about it, we're using the Tatis Indy Pro 2000 car, which is the IP18 machine. This is a very stiffly sprung car. Unlike a big sports car that has a lot of body roll, these cars very stiff suspension, really locked down, trying to get those Cooper tires to really use all of their adhesion. So you can't really get up on the curbs too aggressively. A little touch here or there, and we've seen a couple of drivers leverage that. Qualifying now finished. And indeed, winning the Symmetric Pole Award is going to be Alessandro Di Tullio, our pole position driver, and Joshua coming in as the point leader here in the RTI Prospects program. Did a great job at VIR, was able to win one of the races. Then we, of course, invert the top 10 for race number 2. He stormed his way back up through the field and then looked very good racing against the RTI regulars at IRP on the oval just a week ago. Field looks pretty impressive here right now. As we said, the Symmetric Pole Award going to Alessandro De Tullio. He will start on the pole position. Parolin USA, a young kart racer looking to try to get into the USF Juniors program this year, a 117.498, the fast time for De Tullio. Outside of the front row, the other driver who won at VIR a couple of weeks ago, that's Mackenzie Clark in the Clark Motorsports machine out of Toronto, Ontario, Canada. He'll put the 26 on the outside of the front row. Row 2, a couple of impressive young drivers, too. Frankie Mossman in the number 77, the Southern California driver, hoping to get into a Cape Motorsports car in USF 2000 this year. And the outside of row number 2, Lucas Mann, who has tested for Exclusive Autosport. Good possibility we see that young Canadian with Exclusive when we go racing at St. Petersburg at the end of this month.
You can see down the rest of that order. Connor Gutting in 5th, Dean Dibdahl 6th, and they'll share that 3rd row. And then Jimmy Lockhart, fairly newer name, coming into the TireRack.com Road to Indy eSeries to the inside of that 4th row. Velocity Racing Development's Noah Ping is going to sit to the outside.
Elliot Cox out of Indiana for the Sarah Fisher Hartman Racing Development Program, starting in the 9th spot. Good qualifying effort for Cox in the number 67. He'll start alongside Kike Durst, who is planning on running with Ganella Racing this year in the USF Juniors program. Rounding out the top 12, Jake Bonilla for D-Force Racing in the number 019. And on the outside, the driver who won the Lucas Oil School of Racing Karting to Karts to Shootout, Ayrton Hauk. He'll be starting in the 12th position.
And back from there, rounding out the grid, Jason Pribble is going to be starting in P13 with Sam Corey P14. They'll share that 7th row. Jason Pribble Autosports and VRDD Racing on that row. And then Chase Gardner going to be the final driver hitting to the grid. 15 drivers are looking to take the green flag here from the virtual Barber Motorsports Park. And pace car is going to get underway, Rob, and we're going to see who is going to walk away with the first race win of the night. Challenging track, a lot of fast drivers. Anything can really happen on the course.
We'll take an opportunity to talk about that Lucas Oil School of Racing that Ayrton Hauk came from. It is our official school of the Road to Indy presented by Cooper Tires. We've seen a lot of great drivers like Reese Gold, Prescott Campbell, Eli Navarro come out of that program. Winning the Karts to Cars program this year, I'll correct myself, was Ayrton Hauk. He'll run in their full Formula Race Series this year. He actually tested with Pabst Racing at the Chris Griffiths test in a USF 2000 car back in October. So Ayrton definitely has a focus on the Road to Indy. He'll run the Lucas Oil School this year. We may see him in USF Juniors in 2023. A lot of great talented drivers coming up. The most recent champion was Bryson Morris, who we expect to potentially see in USF Juniors in 2022. Alessandro De Tullio, though, will start on the pole position. As Joshua told you, he leads the points by 11 markers over Noah Ping. Matt Clark, same with 44 points. Lucas Mann with 40 and Connor Gutting with 39. One of the keys, I think, here, again, looking at the Symmetric Pole Award winner, Alessandro De Tullio, Joshua, is this. Top 10 drivers get a chance to run next Monday with the RTI regulars. But when it all comes down to it, the top 5 drivers in the Road to Indy Prospects Point Championship get a chance to run in the Invitational on March the 3rd against not only the RTI regulars, but a number of the graduates. We've seen drivers like Pato O'Ward and guys like that come and race with us in that Invitational. That'll be a lot of fun. That'll be at Worldwide Technology Raceway on March the 3rd. Again, lots up for grabs, a lot of pressure on these young drivers here today.
When we talk about that pressure and we talk about coming into the virtual world and having a lot of stakes on this series, and while yes, it is a lot at stake, there is a lot for these drivers to gain when it comes to this series. At the same time, it's a little bit of pressure taken off because they're not in that real world scenario. They're in the comfort of their own homes, in the comfort of their own sim rigs, so they're able to just kind of take a deep breath and be just a little bit more at peace. They can take a little bit of that stress off. They're not strapped into a race car, feeling the fire suit, feeling the gloves, feeling the heat that is building up. They're at home in their sim rigs, just as they would on a normal Saturday night running iRacing official series.
Yeah, I think they're all pretty fired up about going racing this year. You can see we're getting ready to go now as they'll work their way up to the top part of the racetrack through 11 and 12 to 13 and 14. Back down the hill to the left hand, turn number 15 to Tullio and Clark as they come to the final quarter, getting ready to roll out here onto the racetrack. Alessandro De Tullio, your point leader, working their way out of the front chute, and we're getting ready. We're on it. Green, green, green. Racing at Barber Motorsports Park. De Tullio comes across to the right side of the racetrack, clean coming through the undulating turn number 1 and 2. One driver spinning further back. De Tullio brings him through here, down through the Alabama roller coaster, The elevation change to this particular part of the racetrack is unbelievable. And Joshua, here's the first run down to turn number 5. Always a good opportunity to make a pass early on this hard-braking left-hander.
And you can see just how close they're getting as they go through the left-hander. And everybody's going to start to get single filed out. Still a bit too wide further back. Jason Pribble losing a good bit of spots off of that start. He's going to have to try and gain those back. Here's a side-by-side moment as taking a look to the inside in the first part of this back-and-forth chicane. That is Dean Dibdahl, and it's going to be a move made, or a move kept, I should say, on the number 21 machine. He'll get to stay in P6 as we get to the end of lap number 1 here at Virtual Barber.
Little trouble there for Lucas Mann, dropping a wheel coming out of turn number 10. The very fast part of the racetrack. Another driver spinning. That might have been Elliott Cox, I think, potentially into the wall there. Indeed it was. Cox having trouble coming out of 10. Here's 2 drivers off. Dibdahl goes off the racetrack. A couple of them 4-wheel sliding it back onto the track. I was literally, Joshua, just going to say, a pretty good start for these guys. Everybody's taking care of each other. Then we see at least 5 or 6 drivers with significant issues here on the opening circuit. Back up front, it is a lead for Alessandro DiTullio as he slotted into P1, Matt Clark into second. But some pressure behind from Frankie Mossman, Joshua, number 77. Now things are dialing in. DiTullio looks like he wants to do exactly what he did at VIR.
That's exactly what he's looking to do here, Rob, is pull away, get as much of a gap as he can. How about the diving move to the inside in the left-hander? Frankie Mossman wants that second spot, and he wants it now on lap number 2. Here comes Matt Clark, gonna take a look forward again. He'll be on the defense, back to the inside, and the 26 is gonna hold on to P number 2. It was a bold move there, Rob, from Frankie Mossman. It worked for about a straightaway, but then Matt Clark getting it right on back as he goes through turn 7.
Yeah, we'll bring Greg DiGiorgio into this. Hey, Greg, listen, man. This is what you talked about. One of the things about this particular racetrack is that even if a guy makes a move to the bottom, especially in turn 5, you can run that outside line. If you can get on the power quick enough, and it's a drag race back down, right, to turn number 7, 8, that A-B section where you're kind of going downhill. If you're able to hold the outside line, that's a tough pass to make unless you push out by the apex.
Yeah, the only way to make a pass there is for someone actually to force a mistake. If both drivers really hold their line, it's really kind of 50-50 or who's the bravest one by the time you get to the exit of turn 8 there.
Yeah, you and I have seen it before, Greg. A driver will go deep in there. You don't want to get the car to rotate too quickly. You kind of almost want to push past the apex a little bit to kind of own that exit. Otherwise, the driver's able to run around the outside of you.
Yeah, exactly. It's really who's got their elbows out further there on the exit. So it's interesting to see how these guys are going to race with each other, having perhaps not race against each other in real life, but knowing that they're going to race against each other potentially this year in the USF Juniors or USF 2000, wherever they're going to end up.
Yeah, at this particular racetrack as well, this will be an event where both the USF Juniors program actually joins USF 2000 and Indy Pro. The Juniors will run earlier in the weekend, while USF 2000 and Indy Pro 2000 will be on track then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So a really good opportunity as we ride along here with Frankie Mossman. This is a tough part of this racetrack, that very quick 11-12 combo. Greg, what's the fastest way through there? You're trying to hold it full throttle. Can you use some of the curbing through 11 and 12?
Yeah, the initial turn into the left there, you can grab a little bit of the curbing to the left. You do, when you transition back to the right, it's a tap of the brakes, down 2 gears. You do not want to hit the inside curb there. Then you can use a little bit of the compression to get some rotation done, and then as you crest the hill over the top there, you got to expect the car to get quite loose and open your hands at the same time. And that's where if you drop a wheel in the grass, you will find the outside wall very rapidly.
Really good onboard there with Frankie Mossman, a young driver trying to work his way into the road to Indy. Had a really strong run at the Superkarts USA Super Nationals, which is the biggest karting event in North America. Was running in the lead X30 senior category and was right in there for a race win throughout the weekend. I'm excited to see him potentially work his way into the open wheel ranks. I know that he did the Lucas Oil School of Racing Series and the schooling last year, and he has been focused on trying to get into USF 2000. And Joshua doing a pretty good job so far. We saw him in the initial Prospect Series race and then running pretty strong here tonight as well.
And trying to get further up the order as we stay on this second place battle between Clark and Mossman. And Mossman had that move made. We talked about it just a couple of laps ago. Had the move made, and then right in the next corner, turn number 7, that 7A, 7B complex, Matt Clark was able to take it right on back. And the 26 has been on the defense this entire time. What can the 77 do? You can see the defense coming out from Clark as he defends that inside line. Gonna push the 77 the long way around, and a bit of a touch to the grass for the 77 of Mossman. That's gonna keep him in third place. This is some great racing here, Robin. As much as it's great to see these drivers go head to head, no contact made yet. You love to see clean racing, especially up at the front for P2.
Yeah, you know what? I also think that Mossman might have been able to get the pass done. He worked the outside of the racetrack through turn number 1 and got down there. Had he not dropped a wheel on the grass, I think he may have had a better run back up the hill into turn number 2 and may have been able to force the issue on Matt Clark a little bit. Instead, Clark getting a free pass a little bit after that little bit of a miscue for Mossman. Otherwise, the top 3 drivers looking good. It's the Tulio up the road by a significant gap right now, running P1, looking to grab his second win here of the RTI Prospects program. And again, remember, top 10 drivers from the results here will flip-flop and inverse. Whoever finishes 10th in round 1 will end up on the pole position for round number 2. We saw a decision there for some contact further back. Let's get a little deeper in the field here with Jake Bonilla. He's putting some pressure here now on Ayrton Houck. Houck driving that Pabst Racing liveried machine in number 82. As I said, he had tested for the team at the Chris Griffiths Memorial Test back in October at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway on the road course. But Jake Bonilla will be racing this year, I believe, for D-Force Racing in the USF Juniors program, putting a ton of pressure on Houck and trying to fill the mirrors. You ask, Joshua, what do you do? Well, that's exactly it. Keep the pressure up, fill the mirrors, and try to get the driver in front of you to make that mistake.
And will Houck make that mistake? I think is the big question we're going to be asking here in this 6th place battle. As Houck goes way on the defense. You can see him taking all the way down to the grass on that left side. It is a left-hander coming up, so he's trying to defend that inside line, make sure that the 019 could not make a move down to the inside going into turn 5B. They'll go through turn 6. And how is this going to be affected as they go through the turn 7, 7A, 7B chicane? And look at Dean Dibdall on the 21. He went off track at the beginning of this race on the opening lap. He is now trying to join this battle for 6th place as they race through the middle sector once again. Can the 019 have any more opportunities to make a move? Might have one going through turn 11 or 12, but he's going to try and just keep that pressure on the gearbox for now as Dibdall tries to catch up. It looks like we might have an incident with the 26 of Matt Clark going off track.
Yeah, we went by a driver who was into the wall on driver's right. We did see Houck make a mistake coming through the 7-8 combo as he just didn't get it all correct, which is an issue for Bonilla. He wasn't quite there to capitalize on that. And the same thing goes here with Dibdall. He's pushing hard to close his way up. Now that is 5th, 6th, and 7th. I think we could potentially have a replay of the issue we saw there with Matt Clark, the driver of the 26, who was getting pressured so aggressively by Frankie Mossman. Keep an eye on that, see whether or not we can go to that replay. But again, on board here with Dean Dibdall. He has worked his way back up. Dibdall currently running 7th. He's got Ayrton Houck and Jake Bonilla right in front of him. This is a great battle for the final position within the top 5. Houck, Bonilla, and Dibdall, 5th, 6th, and 7th. Let's have a quick look at the replay right now that happened to Matt Clark. We know he was pushing hard, running P2. A lot of pressure, as we said. Here comes Matt Clark through. Yeah, there's the curbing right there. We'll bring Greg DeGeorges on this. He gets back out onto the throttle, Greg, and I think the car just was not quite settled enough. Had some issues coming through. I believe it was 11 and 12. Once he got to 13, the car started to rotate. And to be honest, wasn't even being pushed by Mossman. He had built some gap, but still the issue was there.
Yeah, it looks like the position had already been given up. I kind of feel bad for him there because as much as it looks like he drove over the initial curb on the turn-in there, it's completely blind on that turn-in. So you got to really use your reference marks there. So hitting that curb, that was unfortunately really expected what happened there.
We didn't see it, and seeing Frankie Mossman drop down to 3rd and Lucas Mann up to 2nd, I want to believe that those two drivers potentially got together somewhere on the racetrack. And we saw the replay of Matt Clark. He was obviously significantly far back, nobody else on the racetrack, but you'd think Mossman was further up the road, but you have to believe there was some kind of contact. Now we're watching Connor Gutting, driver in Indianapolis, trying to put some pressure here on Matt Clark. That's currently the battle for 9th and 10th. And I'll tell you, Clark most definitely on the rebound. You know, Joshua coming in tied for 2nd place in points with 44. He wants to make sure he gets enough to for sure go to next week's race on Monday against the RTI regulars, but he wants to finish in the top 5 so he can run in that Road to Indy Invitational.
That's exactly what he's trying to do. Exactly what the goal is for a lot of these drivers when it comes to this race and specifically this series. How about Alessandro Di Tullio? We talked about his domination at VIR. Looking like the same story, just a different way of reading it now, Rob, as he leads the way again by now over 6 seconds over Lucas Mann, who has assumed second place after that mistake from Mac Clark, and it looks like has also gained that spot from Frankie Mossman as well, moving Mossman down into P3. Noah Ping, Jake Bonilla rounding out the top 5. And as they continue to race through here, virtual Barber, how about Lucas Mann up and into second place? We talked about him a little bit at VIR. Didn't see much of him up at the front, but now he sits in P number 2. And it looks like disaster starting to strike for Frankie Mossman as he's in another battle as Noah Ping is now caught up to the number 77.
Yeah, great battle here. Great run for Lucas Mann. Comes in sitting 4th in points overall, just 13 markers behind Tullio. Here's Noah Ping. This is the battle you talked about between he and Mossman. Ping actually in second place in points, as we said, tied with Matt Clark for 44 markers again. What a good scrap between these two drivers. Mossman's going to look to the inside. That's a tough place to make the pass. Shows a nose and makes a little mistake come out of Ping. Look at these drivers all up on the wheel through that downhill right, left, right combo. You have to work the curbing a little bit there. And Greg DeGeorgis, that's a tough part of this racetrack, especially if you got a guy on the inside. If you try to kind of stay on the outside, there's so much curbing there. You almost have to give it up and just tuck back in.
Yeah, exactly. As I was alluding to in the keys to the race, there's really not room for 2 cars there to get through competitively. So yeah, it's a blind turn in, or not a blind turn in, but it's a lift off the throttle. You got to straighten up, plow over top of that middle curb to the right, and then a quick turn in, use the compression to get the car shooting out of there.
Oh, trouble for Noah Ping coming out of turn number 15. Put the pressure on Mossman and got up and over top of the curbing on the exit and just dropped the right rear Cooper into the grass, and around he went. Ping, again, tough for him, going to fall to the tail of the order. This is going to shake things up. Not only the points potentially going to the race next Monday, but also the overall points. Mossman now goes back up into 3rd. Jake Bonilla is going to go to 4th. Dean Dibdahl into 5th. And you look at some of these guys further outside the points, like Dibdahl came in 10th in points. Joshua, this is an opportunity for him to potentially get himself back up into the top 5.
Look at how close Dean Dibdahl is to Jake Bonilla on the gearbox as they fight for P number 4. Ayrton Houck also sits at the tail end of this battle as they go through the downhill right-hander. But Dibdahl wants to race. He wants to keep this top 5. He's going to have Ayrton Houck behind him to try and worry about. We'll see this replay with Noah Ping, and I think we're starting to see the same thing that we saw at VIR with these prospects, Rob. It is just simple mistakes being made out on the racetrack that is unfortunately biting a lot of these young drivers.
Yeah, Noah Ping coming out of that corner. You can see him just get off the racetrack, probably right rolling back on the throttle, drop those right side Cooper tires just on the other side of that curbing. You can use that exit curbing, but if you get on the other side, the car could potentially high center. We see a lot of drivers go 4 wheels off, trying to roll a lot of corner speed through turn number 15. Ping with some repairs being made, getting back out onto the racetrack. Good for him. Again, following along with Dean Dibdahl, a great young karter. Normally, you'll hear about kart racers who run sprint karting, smaller sprint tracks. Dean's a driver who runs the road courses. He'll race a track like Barber Motorsports Park, like a Mid-Ohio, like a Daytona. Not only does he run the sit-up kind, he'll also run a very unique kind of karting called lay-down enduro racing, where you literally lay on your back with the engine right to the, essentially beside your head on the right side. It's tremendous, a lot of high speed. It's a different discipline for karting, but it takes a lot of patience, and it's more of a long distance race. So you're not battling wheel to wheel all the time. It's more being precise. That's paid off for Dean. He really has represented the WKA well. Was really strong last year in the 2021 eSeries. We said, let's bring this kid back. A class act for sure. And we've enjoyed having him here. Having a strong run, Joshua, P5.
A great run for Dibdahl, like you mentioned, and if he can hold on to this P5, it's going to be a great finish for him. How about this 3-car battle that we are now taking a look at? There's the remains of Mac Clark in the number 26, who now is trying to hold on to P number 7 instead of P number 2 on this racetrack. Sam Corey sits sandwiched in between Clark, who is at the front of this group, and Connor Gutting, who sits in P9 in this group. So 7th, 8th, and 9th. We're taking a look at them, diving back into turn number 1. Gonna go south of 5 minutes left in this race, and we still have one more entire race left to go, Rob. So especially for these drivers who now the top 5 or a podium for this race is maybe out of the realm of possibility. Learn as much as you can about this racetrack and be ready for that next race, because we are going to invert a handful of drivers as well. We're going to invert the top 10 before we go into that second race. So right now, Jimmy Lockhart is looking at a great spot to start the last race of the night on the pole.
What I find interesting here is, to a certain extent, it's an opportunity for Sam Corey and Connor Gutting to go to school. They're right behind Matt Clark here, who we know is pretty quick. Qualified on the outside of the front row. He was a winner in the opening rounds of the RTI Prospects program, won the second race at VIR, and Corey's getting a chance to follow him a bit, maybe learn just a little bit moving into the next race. As you said, Alessandro Di Tullio, who currently leads, if he does get the victory here with 4 minutes to go, he'll start on the outside of row number 5. It'll be Luke Mann alongside him. And indeed, the driver running 10th position right now is Jimmy Lockhart. We expect an announcement for Lockhart soon to be running in the USF Juniors program. Same goes for a number of drivers here waiting for some final announcements as the season rolls on. But Sam Corey's been really good here in this number 14. He'll run for BRD Racing this year and having a strong drive here at 8th, being pressured hardcore by Connor Gutting and has not made a mistake whatsoever. So Sam Corey having a really good run right now. DiTullio is your leader, however. Lucas Mann running in second, Frankie Mossman third, Jake Padilla fourth, and Dean Dibdahl running fifth ahead of Ayrton Hauk. Matt Clark, who had that issue early, falling back, but has climbed his way back to seventh. This could work out for Clark to a certain extent, as he would start Joshua on the outside of row number 2 for race number 2.
And that is a bit of a blessing, right? With a lot of the drivers who have gone down the order. Matt Clark, who had problems, he's looking to start 4th in the next race of the night. As we go on board with Connor Gutting, you can see him inside his sim rig there as he puts a lot of pressure on Corey. Gonna have to take it somewhere. Gonna try and take it to the inside. Big diving move through the left-hander, gets on the brakes for the right-hander, and a beautiful move from Connor Gutting, but he makes a mistake, gets loose on the exit, and here comes Corey right back to challenge.
You know, I love watching the in-car there. He makes the move, able to go now into 8th position. Doesn't even crack a smile. The focus for Connor Gutting. Connor ran this past season in the Lucas Oil School of Racing Formula Car Series and got a lot of great seat time on their Ray chassis. They use Cooper tires down there as well. A really great program to develop young drivers. And Connor looking really good. That was a strong move and a tough part of the racetrack to make the pass. And again, he moves himself up into the 8th position. I do know that Connor working very hard to potentially get himself into either USF Juniors or USF 2000 here in 2022. Let's go back with Jake Bonilla, P4. It's a good run for Bonilla here. He did not have the run he wanted and qualified, but nonetheless has worked his way forward. The driver he'll race for T-Force here in 2022 in USF Juniors. I'll tell you, Joshua, a pretty good run here. Less than 2 minutes to go. Bonilla trying to put some pressure moving forward, but he's got Dean Dibdahl all over the rear wing right now.
Dibdahl has been all over the rear wing of Frankie Mossman for the last couple of laps. He just hasn't been able to make that move. Here comes the dive. Maybe a little bit of contact between the two, but Dibdahl getting the elbows out now was not able to get around Bonilla, and now Dibdahl's gonna have to try and go back at him. They go down into turn number 1, no move being made, and Dibdahl now is gonna move off a little bit of that 019. That was very close to contact. I think they might have made a slight bit of contact coming through the final corner there.
Yeah, I don't know about that. It's interesting because it looked to me like Bonilla got to the top of the hill there in turn 14, and the car got just a little bit loose on him, a little light, and he had to really put some wheel in it to keep it going, and that allowed Dibdahl to close back in. I think good on both drivers. Dean probably could have forced the issue a little bit there, but he's running P5, and he's got that championship in his mind. He needs the points to work his way up into the top 5, and it'll be interesting to see how it all shakes down. Dibdahl still 5th, putting that pressure on Bonilla as we're into the final 40 seconds of the race now. Alessandro Di Tullio, the man up front, and to give it up to Di Tullio. Let's get this battle here. This is Tyke Durst scrapping it out with Jimmy Lockhart. Contact between those two drivers. That's for 10th. That's to see who's going to be on the pole. That's Tyke Durst, I think, able to continue. He's trying to get himself back around. Lockhart, I think, got into him. Let's go back to Di Tullio here, I believe, on the final circuit. Indeed we are. 15 seconds remain, so we'll see the checkered flag next time by. White flag is flown for Di Tullio, and let's give it an opportunity. We'll see what happens as things shake down, but let's talk a little bit here about Di Tullio. Here's a young driver, a late entry into the first 2 rounds of this RTI Prospects program on the TireRack.com Road to Indy eSeries. He won a big event, Supercards USA Winter Series program down in Homestead, Florida. I got a call from Gustavo Jacobin, who's the series manager for USF Juniors. He said, this is a guy to watch. Trying to get him into a USF Juniors car with Pole Position Motorsports. You see that logo at the side of his Ligier here tonight. He's got the Parallel USA logo there as well. That's the kart team that he runs for, the brand he runs on. We bring him in here again, like I said, as a late entry, and he absolutely shows up. Very strong at VIR. And here he comes through turn number 14, the crest over turn 14A back down the hill. It's been a tremendous start to the virtual season. We go to round number 3, and it's another victory for the American Alessandro Di Tullio, the young Florida driver. Going to score the race win. Going to cruise it across the line under the checkered flag. Excellent, fantastic job for him. How about Lucas Mann, the young Canadian as well, for Exclusive Autosport? He'll take second. Good run for Lucas Mann. Frankie Mossman ends up going P3. It is Jake Bonilla in 4th. No, it's actually Dean Dibdahl getting 4th at the line. Jake Bonilla falling down the order here. Folks, we'll go to a quick break. When we get back, we'll wrap it all up for you. Tons of action. Alessandro Di Tullio coming home with the victory.
An important decision is afoot. This man is about to buy tires on TireRack.com. Tire Rack is the leading online retailer of tires in North America and a repository of advice and expert reviews. And it's done! All that's left is to arrange for safe, easy installation at one of our independent recommended installers. Well, I guess he did that too. TireRack.com, the way tire buying should be.
It's your Uncle Cooper. Your SUV is a multi-purpose tool, like a corkscrew fish scaler. And that means your tires should be multi-purpose too. Like these Cooper rugged Treks. They're tough, but also run smooth as butter. And with dual sidewalls, it's like having a multi-tool that can look like a completely different multi-tool. Don't take that idea, by the way. I'm gonna patent it. Go with the Coopers. Cooper!
Welcome back to Barber Motorsports Park, the opening round of today's action in this TireRack.com Road to Indy eSeries. Done and dusted. A lot of excitement on the final circuit. None of it, though, being with the driver who ends up getting the race win. Alessandro Di Tullio did a fantastic job getting out front early, turning the laps he needed to. And Alessandro now joining us here in the Cooper Tire Broadcast Center. Alessandro Di Tullio, congratulations. Another win here in the eSeries. Started on the pole position, leveraged it, got out front. I don't know if you know it or not, a lot of chaos behind you, but you've got to be pretty happy. Tell me about that race and how things proceeded for you.
Hey guys, yeah, pretty good race. I think the pace is good, so yeah, I was pretty confident going into the race after qualifying. And yeah, my mindset was just to try to build a gap at the beginning and then yeah, just try to go with the flow basically.
As you know, when you're up front like that, we got races behind you, don't get the most track time, the most TV time. We didn't see you a lot. We came back and checked in on you here and there. Were there any kind of moments you had, or was it pretty much a really relaxed race for you?
There was one moment when I was trying to pull away a bit, and I was trying to just set fastest lap, where I went over the curb a bit too much, but nothing too crazy. I don't know if the broadcast got the finish. That was kind of embarrassing.
We didn't see that part. Now let's talk about it before we jump into the second race here today. You're going to start on the outside of row number 5. It's a long way back. You and I talked a bit about it after the races in VIR. What's your mindset? What's your strategy here for race number 2, starting on the outside of row 5?
I'm gonna watch the start actually from the last race and see how it was back there. But I think I'm gonna just try to not crash on lap 1. I know there's gonna be a lot of wrecks towards the back. So yeah, hopefully make it out alive in lap 1 and then just go from there.
I think not crashing on lap 1 is a great strategy, Alessandro. Enjoy yourself. Best of luck. We look forward to seeing you work your way forward.
Thank you.
That is Alessandro Di Tullio for Parallel USA and Pole Position Motorsports getting the race win there, starting on the outside of row 5. It's the invert we talked about, Joshua. Top 10 drivers flip-flopping over top, as we said. We'll see what the grid looks like, but man, this could be really interesting in race number 2 when you got some super fast guys starting deeper in the field.
And we saw it at VIR. They didn't really take a step back. We still saw them running up front, but it just took a couple of laps for them to navigate their way through the traffic. And that's at a VIR, which is a bit of a medium track when it comes to passing availability and when it comes to passing toughness. Here it is very, very difficult to pass, and we saw it. We saw a lot of drivers making diving moves to try and get that pass done. So we'll see how it happens in race 2.
When we get back from this break, folks, we'll go right into it and go racing for race number 2.
An important decision is afoot. This man is about to buy tires on TireRack.com. Tire Rack is the leading online retailer of tires in North America and a repository of advice and expert reviews. And it's done! All that's left is to arrange for safe, easy installation at one of our independent recommended installers. Well, I guess he did that too. TireRack.com, the way tire buying should be.
Ricmotech high-performance sim racing equipment. Whether you're just looking to have fun, train for race day, or become a serious esports competitor, Ricmotech has you covered. Hundreds of name brand parts. Support from experts that love sim racing. Trusted by the pros. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com.
At the results of the opening race of the doubleheader here as part of the TireRack.com Road to Indy eSeries and the RTI Prospects races. Alessandro De Tullio with a 10.8-second victory over Lucas Mann. Frankie Mossman rounding out the podium in third. Dean Dibdahl and Ayrton Hauk had that great battle along with Jake Bonilla. Dibdahl coming home P4 for the World Karting Association. Ayrton Hauk in fifth. Jake Bonilla and Mackenzie Clark 6th and 7th. Clark, a good recovery after the incident that we didn't see on the racetrack. Anyway, gets himself up to 7th. Connor Gutting, Sam Corey, and Tyke Durst round out the top 10 drivers. That'll be your invert. Jimmy Lockhart ends up at 11th. Noah Ping after the contact coming out of turn 15, 12th. Jason Pribble, Chase Gardner, and Elliot Cox ready to press the reset button and do it again. Let's have a look now at the grid of the drivers are getting set to go for the second race of the day here. And we will have a look where drivers will start when we get ready to go back to racing. It will be, as we said, I believe, Tyke Durst starting on the front row, waiting for that graphic here as the driver's on the grid and getting set to go. There it is for Ganella Racing. Tyke Durst will start in the pole in the number 17. Sam Corey on the outside of row number 1. You know these drivers feeling a bit more stressed right now as they have nobody in front of them as we come to the green flag. Row number 2, Connor Gutting on the inside for Connor Gutting Racing out of Indianapolis. And the Canadian driver from Toronto, a winner from VIR, second in the points coming into this RTI Prospects race weekend. It's Mackenzie Clark for Clark Motorsports starting P4.
Jake Bonilla, we saw him have some good speed up in the top 5 of that first race. Unfortunately, a mistake coming to the line at the final corner put him a little bit further down the order than he was looking for. He'll start P5 for D-Force Racing. Ayrton Hauk, we talked about his speed as well for Pabst Racing. He starts to the outside, of that third row. Dean Dibdahl, one of the fastest drivers when it came to that first race. We're expecting him to be very, very quick and dicing his way through the traffic here starting P7, and Frankie Mossman setting race number 1 on fire for a little bit at the beginning there. He'll start to the outside of the row, P8.
Word from race control is at the 17 of Tyke Durst getting the penalty for the contact between he and who was the contact with? Jimmy Lockhart. He and Lockhart, got together, and Durst getting the penalty, so he will drop to the tail of the field. Will not start on the pole position. Tough one for Tyke Durst. The drivers who were P1 and P2 in the race will start on row number 5. It'll be Lucas Mann on the outside and Alessandro De Tullio on the inside. And then we'll see Jimmy Lockhart and Noah Ping starting on row number 6.
And looking back from there to the back of the field, Jason Pribble starts P13. Chase Gardner will start P14. And then Elliot Cox is going to round out the 15 drivers looking to take the green flag. Of course, we inverted the top 10, so Lockhart, Ping, Pribble, Gardner, and Cox are starting where they finished in race number 1.
Yeah, and all 5 of those drivers, Joshua, looking for an opportunity, a little bit of redemption here. You know, we saw an incident for Elliot Cox, trouble for Noah Ping, just mistakes on the racetrack that put them off into the wall. They're going to want to get back at it again. And as I said, top 5 drivers in the overall of the 4 races that we've had for the RTI Prospects will get an opportunity to run in our Road to Indy Invitational on March 3rd. That will, of course, be live here on Rev TV as well as the Road to Indy TV YouTube channel, Facebook, and, of course, as always, on the Cooper Tires Facebook page as well. Top 10 combined points for the 2 races today. The race on Monday evening at Road America against the RTI regulars. Getting ready to fire things up, and away we go. It will be now. Sam Corey on the pole, Connor Gutting off pole. Drivers getting ready to go. Green flag racing for another 20 minutes of competition out of turn number 15. They're waiting for the call from race control. Not a great lineup coming to the line here. And I believe we may go racing. Indeed we are, but there could be a penalty. That was not a good starting lineup coming out of turn number 15. Sam Corey will take the lead. Big move there. Dean Dibdo, I think, might have been the driver who lost a bit there. We had a driver go too deep into turn number 1, got the car rotated, couldn't keep the car underneath him, the rear spinning around. Contact there is shaking things up. We'll see how things line up now. Corey with the lead. First time down into turn number 5. Connor Gutting second. Clark now into third. He'll take a look to the inside of Gutting. It's Lucas Mann into the 4th spot. More contact there, and the driver goes over. That's DeTulio, I think. That is DeTulio.
That was Alessandro DeTulio. Dean Dibdall, after that first lap, first turn incident, has just gone into the pit lane. He has towed his way back. Looks like an investigation for an incident between Mossman and the number 21 of Dean Dibdall at the beginning of this race. But Alessandro DeTulio taken out of race number 2 so early. That's the opposite of what DeTulio wanted when we got started here for the second race of the evening. Sam Corey now leads. Matt Clark in second. Connor Gutting in third. And here's a slight move to the inside from Mossman on Lucas Mann. He wants 4th, and he's going to try and take it through the right-hander. But a left-hander to bleed back to the front straightaway is going to keep Mossman in the top 5.
Yeah, good run out there for Mann. We're going full course yellow on the racetrack, though. Full course yellow being called by race control after a couple of major incidents right now. I have no doubt that our race director, Johnny Unser, who is the Indy Pro 2000 race director on the road to Indy, will be making some calls here. We do have some pretty aggressive incidents. We'll have a look at this. Hopefully the pace car is going to make its way out onto the racetrack here as well. We'll give you a quick top 10 rundown. Sam Corey is the leader. Matt Clark up into second. Connor Gutting in third. Lucas Mann fourth. Frankie Mossman in 5th spot. Noah Ping in 6th. Jimmy Lockhart 7th. Jason Pribble up to 8th. Tyke Durst in 9th. And Chase Gardner rounding out the top 10. Alessandro DeTulio, Dean Dibdall, and Elliot Cox all into pit lane. So again, I believe potential look at a replay here right now. Let's have a look at it. This will be the Dean Dibdall incident. Here on board with Dean coming to the start as he's on the inside of the racetrack, diving down into what is a downhill braking of turn number 1. Gets into the corner. Looks to me like Dean Dibdall might have got just a little bit too deep, Joshua, and I think he probably got into the rear as well of Connor Gutting.
Maybe just a little bit too deep than he was expecting to be on the brakes there, and unfortunate for him, unfortunate for DeTulio as well. He had an incident going into the turn 5A, 5A, 5B complex, and an unfortunate night for him as well. So that's 2 drivers out of this race now, puts us 13 strong now on the field, as they all will continue to pace around the Corvette pace car. As we're going to take a look at the incident with Alessandro DeTulio as well. But after towing his way back to the pit lane, looks like we might see DeTulio exiting back to the racetrack. Here's the incident for the 20, and stuck middle 3 wide there. Rob makes contact with one driver, made contact with a second, and that sent him up and over onto his lid. He had no choice but to tow it back to the pits.
Yeah, that was a tough one. Greg DeGeorge, let's bring you in. I know you had a chance to see that as well. From what I saw, Ayrton Hauk made a good move down to the inside and actually had the spot. And it looks to me like DeTulio thought things were clear and tried to come back in the apex. And I think he may have gotten into the right front of Jason Pribble. Is that pretty much what you saw as well?
Yeah, that's exactly what I saw there, and I'm sure that's what the race directors are looking at right now. I'm sure from the iRacing blip cam view, the overhead view is going to be the clear indicator there of what actually happened.
So I think we're going to go back to green here right now, just about 3, almost 4 minutes into the session now. Sam Corey will be the driver to pull them out. Chase Gardner's in the pit lane here too as well, the number 33. The 14 is Sam Corey. He'll run this year for VRD, punching off, and we're back to green flag racing in the back end of the doubleheader of this year's TireRack.com Road to Indy eSeries. Actually, the finale, the final race. Oh, trouble there. Further back again, coming out. 2 drivers together. Connor Gutting and Lucas Mann, I think, together coming out. Gutting's trying to get it refired. There's Lucas Mann as well. I'll tell you, Joshua, surprised there's no damage to the race cars at this point, as those drivers both went off coming through turn number 1. But back up front, it's Matt Clark on the outside. See if he can make it stick here on Sam Corey.
Doesn't look like he was able to. Got a little bit too hard on the brakes. Saw some smoke in the background as Mac Clark will still be side by side with Corey. They're going to go into turn number 7 as an incident is under review from the 17 and the 019 at turn number 1. Mac Clark is going to go to the race lead now by a couple of car lengths. But how about Mossman, Ping, even throw Lockhart into this list as the top 5. You can throw a blanket over him right now, Rob, separated by about 1.5 seconds on the racetrack.
So our race director looking at an issue between Tyke Durst in the 17 and Jake Bonilla in the 019. That's what we saw come up on the screen there from race control. But indeed, Matt Clark's been able to work his way back forward. Sam Corey slotting into second, but man, he's got a gaggle of cars right behind him, including Mossman, Ping, and Jimmy Lockhart, who did not have a great run there. He and Tyke Durst got together for that final transfer spot and that move into the pole position. He's having a better run now. Ping will look to the inside of Mossman, coming down into turn number 1, thinks better of it, and tucks back in. You know, look at the Pribble issue there, the Dean Dibdahl issue and Greg DeGeorgis. You know, it's a downhill braking into turn number 1. You don't really see it as well, depending on your camera angle. But it's a longer braking zone because you're coming downhill. The forward momentum onto the race car looks to me like potentially, as we have contact there between Ping and I believe Lockhart in the number 80, it looked to me like Dibble probably just got in there. Maybe the guys up front checked up a little more than he did and just slight contact with the front wing to the gearbox.
Yeah, that's exactly what that looked like to me. I think he also he may have forgotten to take into account that he's on the inside line where there's maybe not quite as much grip on the outside line that he's used to. And it looked like he kind of panicked there, grabbed a little bit more brake pressure, locked up the rear tires, and had the car facing the wrong direction there pretty rapidly.
Tough to see a couple of drivers struggling here as we had some contact there, as we said, between Noah Ping and Jimmy Lockhart. That's moved Lockhart down to 7th, Ping holding on to 4th. Jason Pribble, who had some issues obviously in the first round, battles his way up to P5 right now as Mossman's coming to pit lane. Mossman into pit lane. You have to believe a potential drive-through for the 77 of Mossman. I don't know if there was any damage on that car. We'll see whether or not he brings it down and into his pit stall. But otherwise, Mossman into pit lane. Clark still leading, though, over Sam Corey. Here's a good battle here between Elliott Cox and Pribble. That is the fight right now for P4. Pribble gets shoveled off to the racetrack a little bit. Time to gather things back up as Elliott Cox in the number 67. He even better in the second race. Had a much better run in the second race at VIR. We see him now running P4. Comes in, and this is key, Joshua, 6th place in the points. Just 6 points behind Connor Gutting, trying to get into the top 5. And that's the opportunity to run in the Invitational. Cox in the 67 right now, running P4.
Every position means points, so every position is important. To touch on Frankie Mossman coming into the pit lane there, he was given a drive-through penalty for incident responsibility, as well as was Chase Gardner. And now you can see it there, the car number 55 also given a drive-through penalty. That's Noah Ping, who currently sits in 2nd place. And it looks like the 019 as well getting incident responsibility as well. That's Jake Bonilla. Doesn't look like any black flags were given out for him, but he was responsible for his incident on the racetrack.
And that's one of the things, Joshua, that's a good time to bring up. We treat this Road to Indy eSeries exactly as we treat the races that we do in the real world. We're going to go racing at St. Petersburg here in a couple of weeks, end of the month. And what Johnny Unser's doing as the race control is the same thing that Joe Miller will do, it exactly the way that we run and race direct an event in our real series is the way we're doing it here on the eSeries as well. So these young drivers get a feel for what's going to happen if they make contact. And if you have incident responsibility, you're going to see a trip to pit lane. And that long, slow, agonizing run down pit lane is hopefully something that will make them reconsider an incident when they get back to racing. Here's one thing to pick up. There's Lucas Mann. He's worked his way back up into 8th position. He is 4th in the points coming into the evening. So he's, after finishing 2nd, really in a solid spot to potentially go into the Invitational as a top 5 finisher. But look at Tutulio, back to 7th position, having been upside down on the roll bar, the roll hoop in turn 4. Tutulio on a run forward. He's looking at Jason Pribble now.
Battles up and down the racing order right now is all behind Mackenzie Clark, who is trying to pull away at the front. There's Elliott Cox in a heated battle now with Jimmy Lockhart, who sits behind him. Remember, Lockhart was not one of the stars of race number 1, finished way down the order and ended up starting outside of those opening spots in P11. He's gained up a good amount of spots and is now trying to knock on the door of a podium finish.
Yeah, these are two drivers we expect to see racing this year in the USF Juniors program. Elliott Cox and Jimmy Lockhart. Great pass there for Lockhart to the inside. Book it. Took the pass, went to the inside of turn number 1 and got the job done. And good for Cox. Didn't have the spot. Hold on to position. Try to get back at it again. Here's Mossman, Frankie Mossman and Aaron Hout back at it again. Mossman running in the 9th spot. Aaron Hout in 10th. Again, we saw a drive-through penalty for the 77 of Mossman after contact early in the race. He's back up into 9th. And again, just trying to kind of salvage things here for Mossman. Didn't have a great outing at VIR as well. We'll see what he's able to pull here as he works his way out of the corner and again is getting chased down, as we said, by Hout. Back on with Elliott Cox in the number 67 for Fisher Hartman. And we'll see him again, as I said, in USF Juniors this year. Beautiful looking race car, and of course, the Fisher Hartman name, very well known in the IndyCar program. Another look at an incident here between Chase Gardner and the 019. That's Jake Bonilla. So Bonilla's been involved in a couple of incidents thus far. We're still watching Cox getting chased here by Tyke Durst. Durst for Ganello Racing, having a pretty good run now up to P5.
That's an incident with Chase Gardner in the 33 as well that is now under investigation. I'll tell you what, stewards are definitely earning their pay tonight as they are reviewing multiple different incidents on the racetrack at once. How about Alessandro Di Tullio? Remember when he was upside down and at the toe back to the pit lane, Rob? Yeah, he's about to knock on the door of a top 5. I think that just goes to show the talent Alessandro Di Tullio has, especially here in the sim. He can go from upside down, having a multiple minute toe to the pit lane. One full course yellow later, he's back in the running and about to knock on the door of a top 5 as he is just about a couple seconds off of Tyke Durst.
Yeah, really excited what I'm seeing here out of Alessandro Di Tullio, being told there's a potential that he's going to be in a Ligier USF Juniors car down in Florida, potentially for the spring training event that we have there in just a couple of weeks' time. Super excited to potentially see him in the car. He's shown so well here in the virtual world, but you're right. He's got that target up on Tyke Durst right now, just over, 8 minutes remaining in this 20-minute race. And he's trying to get himself back up into the top 5. And again, he's looking to try to win this RTI Prospects Championship. He came in with an 11-point lead over Noah Ping, who runs behind him on the racetrack right now. Drive-through penalty for the 33 of Chase Gardner. He'll make his way to pit lane as well. And there's that fight up front. It's Elliott Cox versus Tyke Durst. Jimmy Lockhart able to get through and is further up the road in the number 80. He runs P3 behind Matt Clark and Sam Corey. But I have a feeling we're going to see Di Tullio race his way up there. But right now, good scrap here between Tyke Durst and Elliott Cox. Battling side by side, and those moves to the inside like Durst is doing, though, Joshua, you've called enough races in iRacing to understand all this is slowing down their exit speed. That's just letting Di Tullio close right up. Look how close he is as Cox having some trouble. Car with some entry oversteer going down into turn number 5.
And you can see the side-by-side moment there as the 74, Lucas Mann, is going to power on around, and Jason Pribble is going to go down and into P number 8. You can see still 3 drivers strong in this group. Frankie Mossman holding up the back, and contact made, and around will go Jason Pribble. And a tiny touch from the 77 goes to show how easy it is to get these cars upset, Rob. One slight touch to the back of the gearbox, and that is an incident made as Alessandro Di Tullio, we were just talking about him gaining back time. He's now up and into P number 5 once again.
Yeah, you see that right there. They're going to have a look at this incident between Mossman and Pribble, and I just wonder whether or not Mossman, as quick as he's been, he's trying to carry probably a little bit too much more, maybe more speed than Pribble through that particular part of the racetrack. 7A, B, 8A, very tough part of the racetrack, as Greg had kind of alluded to us before. And it looked like Mossman just was rolling more speed in, got into the gearbox just as Pribble was starting to kind of unwind the wheel and get into it, and that car went around. We've already seen a pass, I think, here for Di Tullio. Indeed, he's been able to get by Tyke Durst, and we just saw earlier how the 67 of Cox having a bit of trouble coming down here into 5. This is going to be another move down the inside. Book it for Di Tullio. move him to P4, and just another tremendous run for Alessandro Di Tullio. I guarantee a lot of his Paralympic USA teammates are watching. We're going karting in just over a week back down in Homestead again for the SCUSA Winter Series. He'll be going for a title there in the X30 senior class aboard his Paralympic. He's carrying the logo on the side of this Ligier machine, and he is doing them proud today here at Barber.
Just a fantastic run from Di Tullio, and it might sound like we're broken records, Robin. We might be talking about Di Tullio just a little bit too much, but we're genuinely, I don't want to say shocked, because I know Di Tullio, and I've known him for a while, and I know that he has some immense speed when it comes to sim racing, but just to see it in action, and to see it in the multiple rounds that he has done of this series, and just the domination that we're seeing from Di Tullio as he was upside down at the toe it back, and as we see a second place battle here, Joe Lockhart to the inside of Corey in by a couple of feet. He's going to have that spot made. Going from upside down to toe back to the pit lane to now fighting his way back up and into the top 5, maybe knocking on the door of a podium finish. Just insane to see.
Yeah, I'll tell you, what a fantastic run here right now for Jimmy Lockhart. Wow, I love the fact that he's had a much better run here in the second race. He obviously didn't have the run he wanted in race number 1, but to be able to close in like he did on Sam Corey, who's been having a good drive, that was just a textbook pass down into turn number 1. Greg DeGeorgis, that's what we're looking for, right? You make that move, get a better run out of 15, get the car placed. When you own the apex of that corner, you're going to own the exit. That was just a fantastic pass by Jimmy Lockhart.
Yeah, that was really clean. That's probably, like I said, it's one of the only places you can really pass there on the track and really keep it clean. And once you get through there down to apex, you can pinch off the exit. Turn 2 is all yours.
That's exactly right. Back up the hill, to the right, down through the Alabama roller coaster. And again, you can see that I think are on board here now with Jimmy Lockhart now, or on board, pardon me, with Sam Corey in the number 14 machine. He's not letting Lockhart get away, but you did see this, the race control feed flash onto the screen there. Another incident responsibility for Frankie Mossman. We saw the contact between he and Jason Dibble, and indeed, he got into the back of Pribble, rather, putting Pribble back a couple of spots. So I think that was a good call by race control, even though I expect that Mossman was carrying a lot of speed through the corner. All right, let's come on back on board with Di Tullio. We got just under 4 minutes, 3.5 minutes remaining. What can Di Tullio do? How about to the inside of Sam Corey? Book it to P3, Joshua. This guy's going to get Lockhart for second. I don't think he's going to get Clark. But what a run here for Alessandro Di Tullio.
You say that, but I think I might be on the opposite side. I think he's going to catch up to Mackenzie Clark. I mean, take a look at the speed we're seeing here. 1:17.66 last time by. Not only is it his fastest lap of the race, it's the fastest lap out of anybody, and the only lap in this race to be set under 1:18. He's the only driver in the 1:17s. We are seeing some great speed from Di Tullio. Mackenzie Clark better start to get nervous. I'm wondering if he's starting to hear the Jaws theme song as we have less than 3 minutes left.
Well, you know that the spotter's going to be on the radio with Max saying this is what he just did. He went purple with a 1:17.66, as Joshua had said. And this is a mark of a driver who has the ability to wring everything out of themselves and out of the machine as well. He's got the pressure on right now. He's really pushing hard late in the run here. The Cooper tires are holding up good for him, but he's putting a lot of pressure right now on Jimmy Lockhart. Matt Clark may need to have Lockhart do everything he can to hold him back. He's got to run the defensive line. He does not. Here comes Di Tullio alongside, down into the downhill braking of turn number 5. Let's see if Lockhart can try the over-under. He'll try to pinch the corner, but no. Another pass done here by Alessandro Di Tullio. Just over 2 minutes remaining in this race. Di Tullio has gone from, as Joshua said, upside down, long toe back to pit lane, a full course yellow, and look at the way he approaches that corner. Hey, Greg, talk about that. Pinching that corner up over top of the curb, that second curbing, really that 7B. He hammers that going through that corner.
Yeah, it's a it's another one of those areas where it's a really fine line on exactly how much curb you can take, and in reality, in real life, we have to worry about tearing the floor off the car if you take a little bit too much. But if you take a straight shot, it's pretty secure on the car, and as soon as you land, hard on the brakes, down 2 gears, into your apex for 8A there.
Yeah, you saw the graphic there as well by how Alessandro Di Tullio has been cutting into the lead of Matt Clark. He continues to set the pace. Clark getting down to a 1:18.08. He's 1:17.56 last time for Di Tullio. So there you go, Joshua. Someone on the radio saying, man, Mac, you got to turn things up right now because Di Tullio's coming.
And he's not out of the woods just yet. Yes, we're going to have 1 minute left here. Next time by, it'll be white flag for Mackenzie Clark at the front, but with Tulio in second. Last time by, running a half second faster than the current race leader. The gap's still at about 13 seconds, so Mackenzie Clark has a good headway. It's just going to take a lot for Tulio to be able to catch him, especially in about 1.5 laps, but definitely still possible seeing the speed that we have seen from Tulio all night long. As there's the current race leader, Mackenzie Clark, and he's going to take the white flag this time by, Rob. You cannot take away from Mac Clark. What a run it has been for the 26 as well tonight. Mistakes in race number 1 put him down the order. A 4th place starting spot here, and he's looking to capitalize on it and grab his first win of the season.
Yeah, the young Canadian is a protege of James Hinchcliffe, working hard to put together what he needs to go racing this year. And I'm hearing that a couple of great announcements could be coming up the pipe pretty soon here. We saw a great battle there as well between Elliot Cox and Tyke Durst. That was for the top 5. Tyke putting a lot of pressure on Elliot. Back on board here, watching with Alessandro Tulio as he works his way through turn number 3 of the Alabama roller coaster. The elevation change, ridiculously cool here at Barber Motorsports Park. A natural amphitheater with really no grandstands at the racetrack. If you're a fan there for an IndyCar weekend, the Road to Indy is going to be there in late April and early May. You get up on the hills, just a beautiful place to watch the races for sure. Let's key on this guy now for the rest of the lap, though. Mackenzie Clark, who had a good run in the opening lap. We talked about him getting shuffled back, fighting his way back forward to 7th. Now he gets himself up to the front, really worked to the lead pretty quickly here. And on the final circuit, he is looking very strong here in that Mac Clark machine. The number 26 is going to be a driver to watch in Canadian motorsports here over the next number of years. He's kind of that next generation young kid coming up. We've had the Hinchcliffes. We've got Robbie Wickens back at it again, as we said. A fantastic run for Wickens alongside Mark Wilkins at Daytona. And then we've, of course, got Devil Di Francesca running IndyCar this year. But it is a win here in the final round of the RTI Prospect Series. Mac Clark scoring the win. Alessandro Tulio coming out here as well. He's going to finish in that 2nd position. Jimmy Lockhart, definitely redemption after the issues of race number 1. He works his way into the 3rd spot. Sam Corey coming across the line to finish in 4th. Tyke Durst in 5th. Following a battle here still at the end here with Dean Dibdall and Luke Mann. They're not quite done yet as well. Dibdall trying to get himself back through, and he will not do it. Tyke Durst ends up in 5th. Elliot Cox in 6th. It's a drag race to the line. Who's it going to be? Coming across the line. I think Mann might have got him. He did. It looked to me like Dibdall may have got a better run out of the corner. Comes up just short. Lucas Mann ends up in 7th. Dean Dibdall in 8th. 9th was Noah Ping. 10th was Jason Pribble. I'm really interested to see how the points are going to shake down. Top 10 overall, get a chance to go to Monday's race against the RTI regulars at the famed Road America event. Top 5 overall in points of the 4 races for the RTI Prospects move then to run at the Invitational on March the 3rd. Folks, that was some fantastic racing right there. Stay tuned. When we get back, we're going to have a chance to talk to our race winner.
It's your Uncle Cooper. Sure, once in a blue moon, you might need your tires for hauling a horse in a hailstorm. But most days, you're gonna need your tires for tougher things, like teaching your sister's kid how to parallel park. Thankfully, these Cooper and Duramaxes aren't just tough, they're everyday tough. Okay, there's a lot of improvement. Go with the Coopers. Cooper.
Ricmotech high-performance sim racing equipment. Hundreds of name-brand parts. Expert support. Ricmotech has you covered. There's only one place to go. Ricmotech.com.
It's your Uncle Cooper. If you and your truck are constantly tackling the regular duties of the day, go with a tire that can handle them all. Oh, man. I stepped in it. Go with the Coopers.
Welcome back to the virtual Barber Motorsports Park. Another very entertaining event here, the TireRack.com Road to Indy eSeries. The future stars of the Road to Indy and this RTI Prospects program putting on another fantastic show. And Joshua, a great race, no doubt about it. We're obviously hoping to get a hold of Mac Clark here momentarily. But your thoughts right now before we get Mac into the booth?
Oh, what a drive from Mac Clark. Obviously, we've seen some great speed from him in the first round at VIR, and now back here at Barber. Some great speed from him. Amazing speed from Alessandro De Tullio to climb his way back up through the field. But how about Jimmy Lockhart? Bit of an underdog finishing on the podium tonight.
Yeah, I agreed. I thought it was a great run for Jimmy Lockhart. Let's have a look at the results here. Matt Clark's with the win, 11.2 seconds ahead of Alessandro De Tullio, who was upside down at one point. Jimmy Lockhart rounding out the top three as he finishes behind Alessandro De Tullio. Sam Corby, as we said, in the fourth spot. Tyke Durst in fifth. So there's your top five. We'll come back in the post and look more about this, but we've got Matt Clark here in the Cooper Tire Broadcast Center. Matt, you had an interesting opening race. You end up starting in a pretty solid position for race number 2. You worked your way to the front very quickly. Give us some insight. Was it easy, or were you just kind of taking your time getting to the front?
Yeah, for sure. Race 1 was definitely a little rocky. I had some issues here with my sim rig. Got that all sorted in the warm up for race 2. I mean, we managed to get out to the lead pretty quickly, and once I was out there and I built a small gap, I just kind of told myself to chill out. Don't put any wheels wrong and bring it home to the checkered flag.
Hey, let me ask you this question, because I asked Alessandro this after his race 1 win. We didn't get a chance to see you a lot, right? Because we're watching the battles in the back. When you're out running alone, you don't get as much TV time. But let's talk about it. Were there any kind of issues for you? Any moments where you maybe were pushing too hard?
Yeah, every once in a while you have a little bit too much oversteer. You got to kind of remind yourself, okay, I got a big league and I slow it down. But no, not too much of a drama for me.
At all? Were you thinking about, man, I need to make sure I have a good result. I want to finish top 5. I want to go run that invitational on March the 3rd. Or were you just kind of getting the job done, business at hand?
I mean, for sure, there's, it's always in the back of your head. You're thinking about the championship. You're thinking about the long run, like you said, going and running that invitational. But in the moment, you're just kind of, driving along and making sure you get the job done.
Hey, we all want to know where you're racing this year. When are we going to get some announcements? Can you give us anything? When should we be looking for some announcements from you?
We got some big news coming this week in the following week. So stay tuned, and we should have some announcements coming out soon.
Hey, congrats on a great day today.
Thank you, Rob.
Matt Clark, folks, with the win today. Joshua, let's go to you for some final thoughts. What are you thinking here after what was 2 really strong races?
Well, I'm thinking that we're seeing a lot of the same names that really have speed. Of course, De Tullio has speed. We're seeing Mac Clark up front, but then we're just kind of seeing drivers have speed at the beginning of the race, and then they just kind of let the mistakes get the better of them and end up finishing down the order. So I think if a lot of these young drivers can get those mistakes under wraps, especially here in the sim, they're going to be racking up some great finishes, not only here, but also in the real world as well.
Greg DeGeorgis, what about you? What are your thoughts? You gave us the keys to the race. Did things kind of play out as you expected?
Yeah, there were some a bit more creative passes than what I was expecting to see. But yeah, for the most part, it looked like tire deck really wasn't too bad for anyone. Too bad there either. But yeah, the second race, I think everyone was really eager to try to get as many points as possible and ensure that they get to race next week at Road America with everyone else.
I think having that Road America there as what they're chasing, it really does give these drivers maybe a reason not to make a mistake, right? To keep rolling and stay out of trouble.
Yeah, absolutely. I think everyone knows how great of a place Road America is to race. You got big, long straightaways, a lot of opportunity for passing. It's a really fantastic track that we're all going to get to race at this year, and I think everyone's just eager to bring the competition there.
Yeah, we saw some fantastic racing today. Mackenzie Clark with the victory over Alessandro De Tullio. Great recovery for De Tullio, having been upside down at one point. Jimmy Lockhart ends up in 3rd. Sam Corey in 4th. Tyke Durst 5th. Elliot Cox 6th. Lucas Mann in 7th. Dean Dibdahl 8th. Noah Ping and Jason Pribble rounding out your top 10. For those of you watching on Rev TV, we hope you enjoyed tonight's TireRack.com Road to Indy eSeries event. Barber Motorsports Park is certainly one of the most challenging tracks on the circuit. Kudos again to tonight's winners, Alessandro De Tullio and Matt Clark. If you want to join us for the remainder of our post-race show, head over to Road to Indy TV's YouTube channel. We're lining up more driver interviews, and we'll also take the opportunity to preview our next week's track. Join us back here on Rev TV this coming Monday the 7th, February 7th, for the 4th round of the TireRack.com Road to Indy eSeries presented by Cooper Tires, when tonight's top 5 will take on the RTI regulars at one of the best tracks in the country, America's National Park of Speed, the iconic Road America. On behalf of everyone from the Road to Indy presented by Cooper Tires, Apex Racing TV, and my broadcast partners, Joshua Lee and Greg DeGeorgis. It has been a fantastic day here at Barber Motorsports Park. Excellent racing all around. And folks, this has been Rob Howden signing off from Barber Motorsports Park. Bye for now.
It's your Uncle Cooper. Your SUV is a multi-purpose multi-purpose tool, like a corkscrew fish scaler. And that means your tires should be multi-purpose too. Like these Cooper rugged Treks. They're tough, but also run smooth as butter. And with dual sidewalls, it's like having a multi-tool that can look like a completely different multi-tool. Don't take that idea, by the way. I'm gonna patent it. Go with the Coopers. Cooper!
So, we buy shoes online, and socks, and shoe socks, and baby food, dog food, parrot food, gardening tools, art supplies, college classes, scarf, the scarf tube, sleeping bag suit? Yeah. So why not buy tires online? TireRack.com is North America's largest online retailer of tires. Find, buy, then have them shipped to one of our trusted independent installers for safe, easy installation. TireRack.com, the way tire buying should be. Online, with all that other stuff.
Welcome back to Barber Motorsports Park. Rob Howden alongside Joshua Lee and Greg DeGeorgis. We are into our post-race show here. The track has gone silent. Saw some great racing here for the RTI Prospects component of this Road to Indy eSeries. Joining me now in the Cooper Tire Broadcast Center, Alessandro DiTullio. And Alessandro, you and I talked after the VIR race. When you're coming from 10th, it's pretty tough. You end up getting contact with a couple of drivers in turn 5. You're upside down, the long pit back, the toe back to the paddock, to the pit lane, then a full course yellow. How did you make it back to second?
Yeah, the start was a bit chaotic. Like 3 cars crashed in front of me in turn 1, so I had to avoid that. And then in turn 5, my mentality was just get through lap 1, so I just broke where I had to brake, and then like 3 cars, I'm used to carts. 3 cars, just, you know, I don't know, they rocketed over me or something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
but then after...
I was just going to say, I think it was a move down into turn number 5, and one guy got to the inside of you, kind of tried to come across a little bit, and everybody was trying to take full advantage of it, let's put it that way.
Yeah, I just broke early because I saw the guy in front of me was going for a move, so in case something happened, I wanted a bit of a gap to react. And then one car came up my inside and then another one off my outside, and then I let them go because I didn't want to, you know, be 3 wide through turn 5, and then someone just hit me from behind. So it is what it is. And then luckily there was a safety car which allowed me to kind of get back in the race. I was like 20 seconds back at the start, and then yeah, I just pushed all the way 100% and hoped for at least a top 7, which was what I needed to win the championship.
Well, let's just say this right now. When you lead from the pole and pull away, as I said before in our interview after race 1, you don't get a lot of track time, a lot of TV time, pardon me. When you start at the back and start passing a lot of people, man, you were on TV quite a bit. Let's put it this way. Probably good for exposure for getting a lot of passes for you.
Yeah, I hope. I mean, that's a positive to take from the race.
We have an event obviously coming next Monday at Road America. You're going to get a chance to go head-to-head against the RTI drivers. We're looking forward to that. Let's talk a little bit about outdoor racing. I know that you're going to be at the SuperKarts USA Winter Series race. I'll be there as well at Homestead. Are we going to see you potentially in one of these Ligier USF Juniors cars here in the before we go race this year?
Yeah. I mean, the goal is to try to get into cars this year. In an F4. I don't know what series, any series, honestly, as long as I'm in a car. So yeah, hopefully start testing soon and try to find a plan for this year.
Well, you've shown very well here in our E-Series. We appreciate you being part of it. We look forward to what you're going to be able to do at Road America on Monday.
Yep, thank you guys.
Well, there's Alessandro DiTullio, again, a very talented driver. He's shown everything he has here. We got a couple more drivers coming to join us here right now. Joshua Lee, why don't you stand by with our next guy coming into into the Cooper Tire Broadcast Center? We've got some pretty impressive drivers who did really well. We talked about Jimmy Lockhart, how he had a really rough opening race. Jimmy's going to join us here momentarily, Joshua, but a really good run for him to be able to come home P3.
Yeah, and a great run for Jimmy Lockhart, and we've got him here in the broadcast booth with us now. And Jimmy, first of all, let's talk about that opening race, because it definitely was not this showing that I think you were looking for out there on the racetrack, but it did give you a great opportunity to have a little bit of a better race in race number 2, and that's exactly what you did.
Yeah, race one, I had a lot of problems. It just I pushed way too hard, and the car just didn't give me what I expected it to. And I mean, going into race two was a lot better. The start of that race was absolutely insane. Three wide going into turn one and two, and then the safety car allowed me to calm my heart rate down so I could get ready for the second round after that safety car.
And as you went through the race, you were trying to get your way back up through the traffic. And as you did that, what sort of challenges were you facing specifically out there on the racetrack?
I mean, at first race, it was a struggle for me, just hanging in the back. But when I got in the front there, and I was just hanging on with Sam Corey and stuff in second and third, it was just very calm, and I was able to just put in laps and just lap after lap. And then I got around Sam Corey, and then DeTulio. He's great driver. He's very fast, so he caught up to both of us. He passed me, and I finished third. So.
Well, great to hear from you, Jimmy, and great job on that third place finish. First podium of the year, and I'm hoping this is going to lead to many more down the line.
Yeah, I mean, this was the first race I was in. The last one I tried to get in, but that I was a little too late, and I was just happy to get into round two of this series, and great result.
Thank you very much once again for joining us here in the Cooper Tires broadcast booth.
No problem.
Great to hear from Jimmy Lockhart, Rob, and what a fantastic run it was for him, especially there in race two and just getting right back up to the front, exactly where you wanted to be.
And I like the contrast of what Jimmy talks about, right? When, the first race, he was trying to get a feel for it, just didn't feel like he had a control, was kind of chasing the car a little bit. Then in the second race, get a better feel for it, right? Got into the groove, running up front with some guys you can kind of trust, similar speed. And again, for him, like he said, we weren't able to get him in. He literally messaged me the day of the race or as the race was getting ready to go when we had our first RTI Prospects race. So I'm super glad that Jimmy was able to get in. We expect to see him in USF juniors this year. And the way he performed tonight, man, that's exactly what we want to see out of these young drivers. One guy that I was super impressed with, he came into the evening here sitting fourth in points. And again, top five drivers get a chance to go in to run in the Invitational on March the 3rd. This driver, Lucas Mann, out of Ontario, Canada, had a tremendous day. Obviously finished second in the opening race. He had some struggles back and forth, but Lucas Mann, a P7 run for you. All in all, 4 pretty good results that are very likely going to put you in the top 5 in points. What are your thoughts on race number 2?
Yes, sure. Thank you. Yeah, it's definitely flashbacks to VIR for sure with such a dramatic race too. Race one was good. It was considering last night was my first time driving Barber ever, I'm pretty happy with the pace. Obviously race one was less eventful, but it was good. Race two, I think we were in a really good position up until that restart. Obviously, we had someone spin in front of us, and I got a little bit of damage from that. So from there, it was sort of a recovery drive. But I mean, all in all, it was just so much fun, and I'm really happy that I was able to participate.
Lucas, as far as you were off the racetrack in turn number 1, I'm surprised you were able to come back with just the limited damage that you had. So I think you're a little bit lucky there.
Yeah.
You mentioned the fact that it's the first time you've been on Barber. Of course, you're going to potentially get a chance to run the track this year. Let's talk a little bit about what were the biggest things that you had to deal with? What was the biggest struggle, the hurdle in really starting to get a feel and starting to turn fast laps here?
I mean, the absolutely crazy thing about Barber is the elevation. It's definitely a roller coaster. I think that's the nickname actually, and it's very fitting. That was really surprising when I started doing some laps here yesterday because it was just like everywhere. You're either just dropping down like 100 feet or you're going straight up a hill. So that's definitely a challenge for sure to get used to. But it's like I said, it's so much fun, and so very unique track for sure. But like I said, a lot of fun to drive.
Well, you're definitely maximizing your opportunity here in the RTI Prospects program. Not only were you able to run the second race at the Oval at Lucas Oil Raceway, you do so well here this week that you're going to run Monday as well at Road America. What are your thoughts about running that track? You've never run Barber before. Have you at least been on Road America in iRacing?
Yes, yeah. Luckily, I have actually. I drove Road America in real life last year, which was a ton of fun. I loved the track. It always gives great racing. So I'm really looking forward to that, and I'll start testing right away for sure.
All right. Well, listen, congratulations, man. P2 in the first race, P7 in the second race. Nicely done.
Awesome, thank you.
Well, folks, let's have a look at the results if we can again from race number 2. We'll have a quick look here. It was some tremendous racing, as we said. Matt Clark ends up getting the victory, 11.235 seconds. Alessandro De Tullio ends up in second. A great drive from the tail to work his way up there. Jimmy Lockhart in third. Sam Corey in fourth. Tyke Durst rounding out the top 5. Joshua, I'll let you handle 6 to 10.
Finishing P6, Elliot Cox, a great run for him. Lucas Mann, Dean Dibdahl, 7th and 8th. Noah Ping after a penalty as well, being able to rally back for a top 10. Jason Pribble is going to round out that top 10. And down from there, Rob, just Hoke, Gutting, Bonilla, Mossman, and Gardner. A handful of those taking on an incidents, but also a handful of them having drive-through penalties from the stewards tonight.
Yeah, we had quite a bit of that, didn't we? The race steward, Johnny Unser, not taking any guff of these drivers here. There was a lot of contact on the track. We saw a lot of drivers getting incident responsibility and having to head to pit lane. And again, we talked about that, Joshua. That's what we're here for. A number of these drivers, a majority, are going to join us in either USF Juniors, potentially USF 2000. This is really a great opportunity for them to get a first feel of how our races are run by one of our race directors, Johnny Unser.
And that's exactly what we want from this virtual world, is we want to make it as realistic as we possibly can to what these drivers are going to face in the real world Road to Indy series. And they're going to have strict stewards that are going to be cracking down on all things incident related.
Let's have a look at the next event. We're actually back here, not next Wednesday, a little bit earlier. We'll be on the racetrack on Monday at Road America, one of my favorite racetracks. They call it the America's National Park of Speed. Over 4 miles in length, 14 corners in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. Come for the racing. Don't miss the food. You got to get a brat while you're there. But Joshua, I'm sure you've driven on the racetrack before in iRacing. I've driven on it in both iRacing and in several different kind of cars and karts before. What a challenging racetrack. Super long straightaways, high-speed corners. Like Barber, a lot of elevation change as well. This is one of the most challenging racetracks on the circuit.
Very, very challenging, but you also got to remember a lot of long straightaways. We're going to be seeing a lot of slipstream passing be made, especially down into turn number 1. You also got to think about the off-camber corner exits that we have at a handful of these corners as well. It is not a very easy track, but at least with these slightly slower Indy Pro 2000s than the large Indy cars that are normally going around Road America, these drivers will have a little bit more breathing room and be able to use that slipstream a little bit more down that front straightaway.
Yeah, I love the racetrack. Again, it's a long front straightaway, as you said, to turn 1. It's very similar coming out of turn 3 all the way down that straightaway into turn number 5. Downhill, hard braking, left-hander, back up the hill into under the Corvette Bridge into what is a blind left-hander. This track actually absolutely has it all. And again, the top 10 drivers from the race we just had, this RTI Prospects race, will be able to race against our RTI regulars. Top 10 in the RTI regulars move on to run in the, I think our entire RTI regulars field is going to run in the Invitational, but we know the top 5 for the points today will do that. I think it's going to be a tremendous battle for sure. Should be a lot of fun to watch. Final thoughts, Joshua, on our race today?
I think it's a really good preview of what we're going to see for the future. We're seeing the same fast drivers up at the front. We're seeing drivers making mistakes that are starting to learn from them. And then we're seeing some new names up at the front as well. I'm really excited for the future of this campaign and where exactly we're going to go next.
Yeah, Greg, would you agree? I think we saw a number of drivers step up. We saw a lot of drivers as well kind of dial things in from where they were at VIR.
Yeah, I think guys are getting a little more comfortable racing around each other, and the pressure here was definitely turned up a little bit. I think that dial's going to go a bit further next week when everyone's racing against the real Road to Indy drivers, and then when we get to Gateway, I think that's going to be turned all the way up to 11 when they know they're racing real IndyCar guys and all the famous alum from the Road to Indy in the past.
Yeah, I love running at the Worldwide Technology Raceway. We have so much fun at that Road to Indy Invitational. Big thank you, of course, to TireRack.com for once again coming on board, for being our title sponsor of this year's Road to Indy eSeries. Cooper Tire is always such a great partner of the Road to Indy as well. I just say for myself to wrap things up, Alessandro De Tullio, so super impressive. Same goes with Matt Clark. For him to be able to do what he did, he's been able to get that second race win, showing a lot of speed. Alessandro, though, the blinding pace here in the iRacing program. Very impressive. And I hope to see him in a USF Juniors car again before the end of the year. Before the end of the season, rather, because I think that he's got the talent to do it on the outdoors. We had a lot of fun here, folks, at Barber Motorsports Park. And again, we want to thank everyone for being part of the action. Those of you tuned into the Cooper Tire Facebook page, or any one of the Road to Indy TV channels, YouTube, whatever it may be. And those of you who came over from Rev TV, we thank you for joining us as well. On behalf of everybody from the Road to Indy, Cooper Tires, from Apex Racing, including our producers Lee Thompson and Alex Simpson, those that joined me in the booth today, Joshua Lee and Greg DeGeorgis, make sure to join us next Monday at Road America. My name is Rob Howden. Bye for now.
An important decision is afoot. This man is about to buy tires on TireRack.com. Tire Rack is the leading online retailer of tires in North America and a repository of advice and expert reviews. And it's done! All that's left is to arrange for safe, easy installation at one of our independent recommended installers. Well, I guess he did that too. TireRack.com, the way tire buying should be.